This video is about the Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague or just the plague, and it really starts to invade Europe, starting in the dates on the screen that you see here, 1347 to 1351, and this is one of the pivotal events of the Middle Ages because it really does change a lot for Western Europe after the fact, after the Black Death. And the main mode of how it was brought to Western Europe from East Asia was on fleas that had hidden and snuck on the fur of rats. So fleas on rats. All right, so you want to pause here and click the link that you see right here to play a Horrible Histories Plague report very quickly. All right, so before the plague hit, trade was actually flourishing, and this was largely due to the Crusades. And in part of one of the effects of the Crusades is that the power of feudalism as a political and social system of Europe was declining, as well as manorialism, our equivalent economic system. There is an actual increase in agricultural production because of one of the many things that Crusaders brought back with them from the Holy Land was better irrigation techniques, better farming techniques. So if there's an increase in agricultural production, studying world history, one of the effects that you know is that less people needed to actually farm, which leads to more people doing non-farming jobs like blacksmithing and artisans and making pottery, all those things. So more people become craftspeople and merchants are able to organize into guilds to protect their trade. Like in the city of London, all of the weavers, master weavers, get together and they protect the secrets of their trade and their techniques and how they weave their cloth. So guilds are an important development that's going to happen during the High Middle Ages. However, just before the Black Death, cities are very, very unsanitary, disgusting, throwing out both your wastewater into the river from which you also got your cooking water. Pretty disgusting. So the plague actually spreads very quickly. And here we have some pictures of the plague. Here we have on the right, a city with just dead bodies lying around. This city is actually pretty good because it's got paved streets. Most of the streets and cities in Western Europe were unpaved, meaning that, just regular old mud or dust, and then when it rains it has mud, but very, very unsanitary. So not the exact right conditions to get rid of or to not aid in the spread of the plague. So what caused the plague? It's actually a bacteria a virus called Yersinia pestis, and those Yersinia pestis lived on the fleas, and the fleas hitched rides on the black rat from Central Asia. So we're going to look at, so it's Yersinia pestis, that's what actually causes the plague. Rats don't cause the plague. The bacteria virus, Yersinia pestis, does, living in fleas. The fleas bite the rats, and the rats become infected, and then they, obviously spread it everywhere else. So some symptoms, pretty good. Day 1, painful swelling called bubosts appear in victims' armpits and their groin. This is where you have your lymph nodes. Usually about the size of an egg, but as big as an apple. 2, vomiting, fever, not too bad. 3, this is when it starts to get bad. Bleeding under the skin causes those dark splotches everywhere. That's why they call it the Black Death, because of those black splotches. And then day 4, you've got spasms because your nervous system is breaking down. And day 5, those buboes, those little pustules, those swellings, would ooze black liquid, which is also where it gets its name, the Black Death. However, if it actually oozed and it burst on its own, it would actually contribute to a higher survival rate because that bacteria, the Yersinia pestis, is actually leaving the body. So if you got to that point, it was a good thing. But most people died much earlier than that. Here we have an image. This is a very, very famous one from the Toggenburg Bible. You have two people laying on a bed covered in buboes, and in the background you have a little medieval mystic man, spraying good smelling stuff, or waving magic or something, warning people to stay away from the Black Death. All right, so where did the plague start? According to this map, if you look at it, it is from Central Asia, okay? And the black lines show the general route of the Black Death. So it crosses from Central Asia across the Black Sea. It first hits Constantinople. Then it will go out Constantinople toward Italy for the most part, up Italy and into France, okay, across France and into Spain, and then across finally making its end 1350s. You have making your way into England, and then also Scandinavia. The earlier parts are, notice, all coastal regions. That is important to note, and that they hit at major trading cities like Constantinople, Genoa, and Venice. Very important. Here we have another map. I like this one because it's got the Grim Reaper. Here, a little artistic celebration. The Grim Reaper, representing death, is unleashing the rats across Europe. So how did people react? Most people thought that they saw the Black Death as a punishment from God. And these were particularly flagellants, people who believed that they must repent for their sins by suffering physical pain for that. So that's the image that you see down there. They're kind of whipping themselves. And religious fanatics definitely believed it was a punishment from God. Another group that was blamed for the Black Death, they blamed the Jews for causing the plague as well. And what's really interesting is the art reflects a fascination with death. So this is where you can answer your two questions on your note sheet about the Black Death. What does the art convey? So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to switch the slides. You should pause it, look at the images. What are they really expressing about the Black Death? So there's the first one. And the second one. And the third one. And the fourth one. That one's my actual favorite. There's another one. This is a famous quote of an Italian poet in the Decameron. His name was Boccaccio. He says, "The victims ate lunch with their friends and dinner with their ancestors." What does that say about how people viewed the Black Death during the Middle Ages? Write your response in the questions on your notes. Here you want to click a video for a horrible, Monty Python, Bring Out Your Dead. A little funny, but it does show that, 1/3 to 1/2 of Europeans died due to the plague. This picture is also associated with bubonic plague. It's called the doctor's mask. The beak would be stuffed with herbs and spices to ward off the plague. It's particularly popular. It's particularly popular in Spain. Some of the cures, they don't really know anything about germs, bacteria, so they can't say, "Oh, it was caused by Yersinia pestis. We need to, antibacterial everything." They don't know anything about that. So educated people maybe possibly knew it was spread from person to person. So they would say, don't live in cities, evacuate, go to the countryside, stay isolated for a certain amount of time. very few people who caught the plague actually survived. So if you got it, it was basically a death sentence. So what were some cures? Here's one. The swelling should be softened with figs and cooked onions. The onions should be mixed with yeast and butter, then open the swellings with a knife. So they did understand that, if the buboes popped and it released the black liquid, it would be a better thing. But I don't know what figs and onions have to do with that. So that's one cure. Here's another one. Take the live frog and put its belly on the plague sore. The frog will swell up and burst. Keep doing this with further frogs until they stop bursting. Some people say that a dried toad will do the job better. So the idea that if you place a toad on top of the swelling, then it will magically dissipate from your body and go into the toad. That was another popular cure. And the last one, eat lettuce. Alternate sleeping on your left and right sides to keep the liver at the right temperature. All right, most importantly, final part, consequences of the Black Death. Trade when the Black Death hits essentially stops. It's a standstill. 20 million people are going to die within 3 years. That's about a third to maybe up to a half of the European population during this time. Towns become more independent, and finally, most importantly, there's a scarcity of labor. So, because everyone's dying, there's not enough laborers or, basket weavers to produce enough baskets. So that allows the peasants to demand higher wages. And because they demand more money, get paid more, this actually leads to a decline in serfdom in Western Europe, which is the most important consequence of the Black Death. So on your index card, pause it, answer these 2 questions, and then make sure you turn in as you leave class today. All right, that's it. Have a great day, guys.